Okay, good morning, everyone. Hey, I am so grateful that this is starting at 8 o'clock now because for years, this meeting started at 7:30. And I remember when our children were young, that George would get up every morning, get his clothes. He had a routine, go to the sports mall, and would come to the morning meeting. And I would stay home and get the kids ready for school, take care of babies, feed them, all that kind of thing. And little did I know that I would be doing the morning meeting one day. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to be here with you and to have this chance to share a few of my thoughts and things that I've learned. And hopefully you can take it into your life and find value in it as well. First off, last week, a couple weeks ago, Stephanie sends me a text and said, hey, George wants to have you do the morning meeting affirmation. Well, I have done it once before and he interviewed me. That was really fun. So in my head, I was thinking, oh, we're going to do another interview and it's going to be really fun. I really enjoyed it. And so on Thursday of last week, he came home from work and I said, we have the Zoom call next week. And what are we going to talk about? And he said, we are not going to talk about anything, but you are going to be doing the morning message. And I said, well, I always thought that it was going to be us talking. And he said, no, it is not. So you get to do the message and I'm excited to be here. And worst case scenario, we might even get out a little bit early today. It's like giving a talk in church. You're the last speaker and you look at the clock and there's 30 minutes left and your talk is only 10 minutes. And you know what? The good news is no one ever got mad about getting out of church early. So we're going to see how this goes. But I've got, when I found out that I was talking to you this morning, the first thing that popped in my head, it's a YouTube video that I always love to watch with Oprah Winfrey. I watched it probably 10 times. And her talk is about intention. And it's something that after I watched it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to take that into my life and use it myself. So she first starts off by saying that in 1989, she read a book by Gary Zukov called Seat of the Soul. I actually have it and it's on my list to read this year, but I haven't had the chance. So those of you who have read that book, you probably will know what I'm talking about it. But in that book, she talks about how he talks about the law of karma and everything that you put out there comes back to you. It's kind of like do unto others as they would have do unto you, she quotes. And so after she read this book, she said, I'm going to start using this in my life, this power of intention. And she goes on to say, by the time that she wanted to start doing this, she was in the smack dab in the middle of the Oprah Winfrey show. Some of you younger millennials may not even know what that is, although you probably know who Oprah Winfrey is, but she had a talk show that was actually #1 for 25 years. And she started doing this talk show and said, you know what, I'm going to try this power of intention. I'm going to do an experiment and see what happens. So she talks about, she called her producers in and she notified them and said, you know what, we are no longer going to be interviewing the KKK. I will no longer be doing interviews with people who are fighting with one another, who have contention. The only people that I am going to bring on the show are people that I can send across a message to people that will bring them growth in their life, that will bring them light, that will teach them something of value, something to get a good message out. That is the only thing we are going to be doing, positive things. I will not have contention. I will not have quarreling. I will not be doing anything on my show like that anymore. And they said to her, but how is that going to help us in our ratings? They were all really concerned because, the Jerry Springers, the Phil Donahues of that time, that was like the rage, all of that controversy, all that craziness coming on their shows. And that's what she was doing. She said, you know what, I'm not worrying about anyone else because all I do is I compare myself with me. And that's how what she attributes to being number one for the 25-year plus, actually 25 plus years that she was on the show. She only competed with herself. She said, don't pay attention. I would tell my team, don't pay attention, because there are people coming out all the time with new talk shows. And she said, it doesn't matter, because we only need to worry about competing with ourselves. And that was kind of her rule with her show. And that's why she stayed number one. So she talks about how she said, let's try this out. She had a woman on her show whose daughter, who was 16, was killed by her boyfriend. And the mother did not have any idea that this daughter was being abused by her boyfriend. So she talks about how she went into the green room and she's interviewing this mother. And she said, why are you on this show? And the mother, like, she said, what is the reason why you came on? And the mother said, well, I came on because your producers called me. And so I that's why I'm here. And Oprah said, no, but what is your intention of saying yes? Why did you say yes to this show? And she said, because I want my daughter known for something more than just her death. I want my daughter to be known that she was loved and that she loved us, that she was a light in our life, that she had friends, that she had something to say, that she had something to contribute in this life, that it wasn't just about her death and the subject. And Oprah said, which I think is so great, Oprah said, I can do that for you because I control the mic. I'm the one who can put that story. I'm the one who can ask the specific questions. So every 16-year-old girl out there who is in the same situation can know that it's not right. And they can know that they can get help and that they are worth more than being controlled by a boyfriend if they're in that situation. She said, we did the show and it is the first Emmy I have ever won. Was the day, that first show that she did, by intentionally creating the show to how she wanted it to be. And she goes on to saying, she said, I then, from then on, took this intention into every area of my life. I don't do anything without figuring out what my deliberate intention is with what I am doing. So I started to think about this in my own life. Like, how can I intentionally create my outcomes that I want? Well, you know, some of you may know my past of childhood, and there was some childhood drama going on, a father who was alcoholic and a mother who had committed suicide. And over the years, after learning so much about myself, I realized that change was very hard for me, because I had so much change early in my life, and because I wanted my life to be consistent, change was very hard, because I can predict change, because you can't predict. I was just actually having this conversation with a friend yesterday about living with an alcoholic parent. There's so much change and so much variety with that I did not like the fact of change, because I wanted to predict what was going to happen. So with that being said, before I would ever go somewhere, in my mind, I would play out how an event was going to be. Like if I were to be going with some friends to dinner or just hanging out when I was younger, in my mind, I would play out exactly how it was going to go. Anything like, okay, we're going to show up and we'll probably, go get something to eat. And then I'm going to be really funny and they're going to laugh at my jokes. And then we're just going to have such a great time. And it pretty much was me setting myself up to being rewarded and looked at and trying to be significant in that moment. And generally 9 times out of 10, I would always walk away uncomfortable. I would walk away disheartened. I would walk away not feeling good about the situation, because it didn't ever end up being the way that I wanted it to be. So after listening to Oprah's, I started thinking, okay, you know what? I am going to set one intention for every time that I go and meet with someone, or I'm in a situation or a party or a dinner, and that's my intention. But I'm not going to play it out as to exactly what we're going to talk about, what I'm going to say, what questions I'm going to ask. I'm just going to let it flow. But my intention behind it is to let them know that they are loved, that I care for them, that I'm excited to be there, and just to be present. Because really, when you're setting an intention, it's all about being present in the moment and letting it flow. And I have to be honest, it was uncomfortable. And sometimes it still gets uncomfortable for me to be in that space of just letting things flow and letting it just go its course and seeing what happens. It's something that I continually try and work on, and just to let things be, and to always know that I'm putting my best foot forward with it. So let me give you an example. We have 5 children, and if you haven't done this, this was a really fun thing that we did in our family. If you know the book, 5 Languages of Love, if you go onto the website, there are tests on there that you can take. So not only can you find out how you like to be loved, but how your spouse or your children like to be loved. They have different ones if you're single, some for children, some for married couples, all different things. You answer these questions of the 5 languages of love. And so I sent it out. We have a family little text, and I sent it out to the family, and I said, okay, I want everyone to take this test because I want to know what your love language is. And generally, the mistake that we make, and I am guilty 100% of this, is that we tend to love other people the way that we want to be loved. And so when you are giving, for example, I'm actually like almost 50-50 words of affirmation and quality time. Like both of those are my love language. So I would give that to all of my children. And I would think, well, why are they not feeling loved? Or why are they upset about this? You know, I gave them quality time, and I told them words of affirmation of how much I love them. Why is it that they're not feeling like completely supported in this moment? Well, come to find out, it's because that's not what their love language is. So we had everyone take these, and I was actually really surprised with some of the answers. Like actually Dylan surprised me. I even had him take it. His are receiving gifts. Like it's a really big deal to connect with him. And I thought, wow, that is not something, because I always thought his were words of affirmation. So I would be like, Big D, you're so awesome. Hey, thank you. But you know what? For me to really connect with him, giving him a small token of my appreciation or thinking of something, and like I thought of you when I saw this, and I just wanted to get it because I thought it might make your life a little bit easier. Mackenzie's is quality time. You know, I have said before, years ago, I remember saying to George, hey, if you ever want to make a connection with Kenzie, I figured this out when she was in high school. I said, go take her out for ice cream, or go take her to dinner or to lunch, just one-on-one, because she will open up. She loves the conversation. She's like me. She likes a great conversation. My other daughter, Bella, is the same way, quality time. You know, it's been really fun to figure out what that is. My husband, it's physical touch. I'm like, mine's that's like 3rd on my list, but it's not my number 1, because I would always give him like, oh, honey, you're doing such a great job. You know, giving him words of affirmation was my go-to for him. But now that I know that it's physical touch, then I can intentionally make sure that I hold his hand, or he really likes me to scratch his back, or, you know, just that how much do we impact people when we just put a hand on their shoulder to acknowledge them and look in their eyes and say, you know what, I see you, I hear you. How much further can you go intentionally by giving that to them? So what does this look like in your business? And even in relationships, intentionally? You know, I as a parent of 5 kids, I've made a lot of mistakes. And poor Kenzie, I call her my little guinea pig, because, you know, her being the oldest, she's really my first test subject of what I need to do as a parent, and still have made a lot of mistakes. And I remember there was one time when I screwed up and I was talking to her after, and I said, you know what? I am sorry. I am so sorry. You are my first. I screwed this up. I know. I want you to know how much I love you, how proud I am of you, what an amazing person you are, because literally I feel like she was born that way. I didn't do much to mold her. She really came out. I call her a little mini George version. And I wanted to make sure that I support her in that way. So how does that look in your own life? If there's someone in your life starting off a conversation with a child, maybe it's a tough conversation that you really are kind of avoiding. If you went to that child and said, you know what, my intention before we start is for you to know how much I love you. And I want to talk about something that's uncomfortable to me. And I just want you to know in the end, I want you to know that you're loved, and I'm probably going to screw this up. So let's have a conversation. How about with like a significant other, your spouse, your partner, someone who is very, very dear and close to you? You want to have a conversation. Starting it off like that, does it not like make it easier for both parties? You know, people can read each other's energies and feel the tension that goes on in the room. But if you're starting it off, honey, I want you to know how much I appreciate you and love you. There's something that's really been bothering me, and I really want to have a conversation about it to get it off my chest. It's important to me that we talk about this and work through this. You know, chances are I'm going to say something and you may get offended, but I want you to know that it's not my intention to offend you in any way. It's my intention to be able to work through this because I love you. And I want our relationship to be deeper and stronger, and for us to get through this. Because, you know, at the end of the day, whenever you go through conflict with someone, conflict equals growth. You know, and it's true. You think of these people, like I kind of go back to my high school. I have two girlfriends who I went to school with, one who I actually went to preschool with, and all the way up through graduating high school. And they know all of your secrets and all the ghosts in the closet. But you've also had drama. We've been able to stay friends and have drama, and we've had fights, and we've had arguments and disagreements and different beliefs. But you know what? We've been able to work through them, and we are that much closer. And still, they are my two dearest friends from school that I'm still in contact with. But that relationship is so strong because of that conflict, and we've been able to work through that, and that equals growth. How about, does that, now let's pertain this to business. Wow. What if you're having a conflict with a client? I mean, obviously right now, price reductions are not an issue, something that you don't need to worry about in objection handling at all. But conflicts do come up with sellers and buyers. And how powerful would it be for you to be able to, like Oprah said, control that mic? You're the one who has the power of that listing. You're the one who controls that buyer in the sense of, how is this going to play out? How powerful would that be for you to be able to talk to them and say, hey, you know what? This is my intention. My intention is to be able to, your first time home buyers, you're just starting off your family. My intention is to be able to get you into your first home, a place for you to be able to create memories and to grow as a family and to grow as a couple. My intention is to create that for you. Now we're going to go through some ups and downs. It's going to happen. And you know what? We want that to happen, because that's how growth happens. What kind of a connection can you make with your clients at the very beginning? Because even though, like I said about friends, be excited about that contention, about that disagreements, because that's when you are able to work through that, you're able to make that connection even stronger. It's a blessing. I always say that when I hear my children or someone is having a conflict with a really good friend, I always say, if they are someone you want to be in your life, be grateful for that conflict, because when you do work through that, you're going to be that much closer. That much closer. How about this seller? How about a listing? I mean, pretty much you put it on the market, but chances are you're going to have some objections coming up that you need to work through. How powerful would it be at the beginning to build and establish that relationship with them, and to say, my intention is to be able to get you the best price. This is what I'm wanting for your home, and for us to be able to have you move into that other home, and for you to be able to find where you fulfilled and you're excited and you're happy about it, whether they're upsizing or downsizing. My intention is to control this. What is your intention with this? Because, you know, sellers, for example, have all different reasons why they're selling. Sometimes it's because they want to sell at the top of the market to make the money. Sometimes it's because of a family situation. Sometimes it's a financial situation. What is their intention? Because that's going to play out on negotiating through all of these offers that are coming in for them as well. And how amazing would it be for you to be able to make that connection with them and build that relationship by just saying, what is my intention? So with that being said, we might end a little bit early, just like church. It's okay. That's a great thing. But what I challenge you to do is to start thinking, what is my intention with this? What is my intention going into the office? What am I going to accomplish today? My intention is to lift the people surrounding me. Well, what does that look like? I don't know, but my intention is to do that. And your actions will speak measures to them and the people around you. So think about it, take it into your life, take in a few minutes and say, what's my intention in this situation? Maybe you've been living off of default and living off of a default intention, but what if you tried a different intention in a different area, and see how you connect with the people around you and what you can do to serve and love them. So excited to be with you this morning. Thank you for this opportunity. Let's close out here.